Promotion and relegation, new NIL structures, a completely different conference configuration. Here's everything you need to know about the new proposed College Football Super League. Several college presidents, Roger Goodell's primary lieutenant, and some of the top sports executives have devised a plan to save college football. Some notable members of the 20-person group include Philadelphia 76ers owner David Blitzer and the NFL's number 2 executive Brian Rolapp, although arguably the most important member and notable member is Len Perna of Turnkey ZRG. This is the search firm that places nearly all the top conference commissioners in college football, including Big Ten's Tony Petitti. This proposal would create a system that would have the top 70 programs from the former Power 5 conferences and Notre Dame operate in 7 10-team divisions. These 70 teams would operate as permanent members of Division I college football at the highest tier. The twist in this model comes with the addition of an 8th 10-team division. This group would be made up of teams that can be promoted and relegated into the second tier, a model that was inspired by the European Football League style system where promotion and relegation occurs. I went ahead and mocked up kind of what this divisional structure would look like. Now, I know this isn't perfect by any means. These conferences a little messed up in some areas, but I threw this together in like 5 seconds. So don't ask me why Vanderbilt's in League 7. I just had a team left over and had to put them somewhere. But essentially how it would work is these 7 leagues would have teams that would never leave those leagues. There'd be no risk of them getting relegated. However, the 8th league would be made up of some group of 5 teams or former group of 5 teams. In this system, they'd be known as Tier 2 or Division 2 teams. So looking at the group of 5 pool, the 10 teams that have had the best record over the last 4-year period, which is what I went with, I'm just going to throw them into League 8. So that's Troy, James Madison, Coastal Carolina, Liberty, UTSA, Air Force, Fresno State, Louisiana, Toledo, and App State. Now, looking at this model, yes, this does hurt the conference structure and the regionality at the group of 5 level, but I think it's a worthy trade-off. Looking at that division, that 8th division there, I think that's something that is kind of interesting, and it's something that obviously over time would involve relegation and promotion. So let's say Troy, Fresno State, and UTSA have a rough year, and Marshall, Boise State, and Tulane shine. They would then move up in the ranks, replace them, and strengthen that division as a whole. This system, while it has its drawbacks, would provide a pathway for the 50-plus second division teams or group of 5 teams to get into the national title race. That's an actual clear pathway. In the current system, something like that does not exist. You just have to hope that the voters and the committee will put you in a position to where you can win it. And yes, I know auto bids are going to become a thing, but that's one bid. In this new system, there's not going to be any limit on bids. So the playoffs would not require a selection committee. Instead, it would be a proposed postseason of all 8 division winners plus 8 wild cards from the top tier. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be 2 from each division. If the SEC was stronger one year, maybe they'd get 4 teams in and then maybe 3 from like the Southwest Conference or something like that. And you could even have seasons where if the 8th division was really killing it, they could put 2 teams into the playoff. I really like that there's not a limitation there. I think maybe if you were looking at something to change, maybe you would do it to where there is another bid for all of Division 2 that exists there, and maybe it's not as easy as a path, but it's another way for if you're not promoted and in that 8th league. Lots of stuff to think about. Thus far, this group is struggling to get traction among the major conferences and individual universities in college football. The ACC has met with them and listened to their presentation so far, but the SEC, Big Ten, and Big 12 have been hesitant to meet with them and actually called off dinners with this group because they don't want to upset their broadcast partners in ESPN and Fox. So it leaves them in a very precarious situation where these conferences are facing a lot of uncertainty, some of them facing class action NIL lawsuits that could literally bankrupt the conferences, and this league sits by trying to lure them into an agreement that would create this college football super league. This league has a lot of other radical proposed ideas that could solve some major issues in college football revolving around NIL and Title IX and these conferences potentially going bankrupt due to some of these class action lawsuits. It's all a very interesting thing to look at. There's been a couple notable journalists that have made complete articles about this that you can go check out. But What do you think about this Super League? I'm curious to hear from a purely college football perspective what you think about the inner workings of this, what you think some of the pros and cons are. As far as this structure goes, I think it's all right, especially compared to a lot of the other alternative futures we have on the table right now. This is a league that would include 80 teams and a pathway for basically the entire group of 5 to get into the playoff race, one that would be way clearer than any other proposal. I don't really like how big the playoff is in their initial proposal. 16 teams seems a little much to me, but as a college football fan, I'm worried about preserving the college football feel, and this also fixes a lot of looming things that could destroy our sport, including the NIL and Title IX and conference collapsing issues. And so this plan overall, compared to some of the other ones, I think it's one of the best we've got right now. I don't know if this exactly and specifically will ever gain enough traction or momentum to see the light of day, but it's interesting to look at, and there's a lot of different ways this sport could go. I can't wait till 2040 when I'm able to experience. But if you enjoy the video, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff, and I will talk to you guys in another video.